Mass Effect Andromeda is coming 2017. We will hear more finally about this game at E3 2016. And we will also hear something really interesting. Well, according to Sec Shops here, we discuss the E3 bold predictions. Sec, welcome again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's going to be a very interesting discussion. I think it'll be more interesting than our first one about Dragon Age, the MMO. But
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can find that on the channel already. Dragon Age and MMO. What? Well, it's like also Bioware this time, but also MMO stuff. Well, we also talked about the whole EA conference. You can watch that video by clicking the link I put in the description below. We'll lead you to Sec's channel, and yeah, there you find that video about the EA press conference. Well, at the end of that, we made two bold predictions. Like I said, the Dragon Age one is already on the channel, but now we will discuss Mass Effect Andromeda being in a hybrid MMO, and that's like your bold prediction. So take it away.
Yeah, so essentially this is definitely a lot less likely, I think, than the Dragon Age MMO idea, right? Because Dragon Age, if you look at how that franchise is developed, has always never been consistent at all. It's never been consistent. You had first with Origins, a very in-depth RPG, Dragon Age 2, action, very simplistic title that a lot of people did not like. Then you had Dragon Age Inquisition that was trying to go back to the RPG formula, but it was very simplistic, lacked depth, and if it wasn't released in that year, it wouldn't even been considered for Game of the Year. Like if it was released in the year that Fallout 4 and The Witcher 3 was released, it would have been definitely in third, totally. If not off the list. So when it really comes down to it, Mass Effect is a type of franchise that is very similar. When you look at the first Mass Effect, it was kind of like Origins, though. It was a little bit more in-depth. It had a lot more sort of quirks and just a lot more systems. Mass Effect 2 sort of simplified it, but sort of maintained the same formula and moved the franchise forward. Mass Effect 3 simplified it a little bit more, but none of it ever felt completely different from one another. But they're starting a new trilogy, and so they have a lot more room to sort of do what the hell they want, and they see obviously the Star Wars franchise doing really well with the new movies, so sci-fi is a lot more in people's minds. They have a new franchise, a new trilogy that they're going to be starting with Andromeda, so they have a lot more room to sort of go with. They see The Division doing extremely well, even though it was somewhat of a bland third-person shooter. It was fun, but it wasn't really that innovative in any regard. Then we also had Destiny, another sort of bland shooter that wasn't really that interesting from a unique systems perspective. It was a sort of another shooter in a sci-fi, area. And I think that they see the success of both of those titles and think that they could do way better. And if they did it with a known IP such as Mass Effect within a brand new galaxy, I think that it could definitely be a huge success. And I think that even if they just did it from a co-op perspective and didn't really open it up to be as multiplayer-ish as like Destiny or The Division, I think that even that would be a really good idea to make it so you can play with your friends instead of random AI units in your party. Make it so those are players or could be players. That would open up a lot of doors for unique perspectives on not only story development but also gameplay as well.
Yeah. So to clarify a little bit, so with the Dragon Age MMO, personally, I think that would be more like Destiny and The Division, and that's why it also is hybrid MMO. Will be like more, a game that will totally fit like single player. So if you play Destiny or The Division single player, you will hit the max level, and you're like, okay, I can't do anything alone. It's not fun. While in this game, you could totally finish it on your own. But if you want friends over, you can do that. That's what this bold prediction is about, right?
Yeah, basically. I don't think it would be like a full-blown hybrid MMO. I think it would have a lot of the systems of one. I just don't think it's going to be, if there's any, because if I were to say it's going to be a full-blown hybrid MMO, I would probably put at like 1 to 2% likelihood. But since I think it's going to be more of a, you can join your friends, doing whatever they're doing, and since it's going to be more of an open game, at least it seems like it's going to be a more open game, you really sort of, it would aid the experience to be able to have your friends with you in a long, over 40-hour experience, and I think it would add a lot to it. But I don't think that they're gonna go the full-blown hybrid MMO route. They might, and the reason why I say might, and that's even in my head, is because there's been people leaving Bioware, so maybe they've heard this and they're like, I don't want to be at all a part of this. I'm tired of you guys doing this with everything, and I'm tired that the industry is moving this way to begin with. I just want to make a masterpiece, and you guys are trying to completely tear everything off of the foundation and just remake it, and they just left. But it's possible, and I think that from a financial perspective, it would excite a lot of stockholders, because I mentioned this in the last video, EA stock is purely performance. There's no dividends, so they're very much pushing to make sure their bottom line is increasing every single year. And I think that if they announce this, it would hype up not only a lot of gamers, because they're like, wow, I could finally play this game with my friends, I've been waiting to do this for a while, but they've also would excite stockholders and be like, wow, you guys are moving into a new genre of games that every single one that's released thus far, Destiny and The Division, has done really well. And then if you look at all the other MMOs on consoles, Final Fantasy XIV, for example, that's done really well. You look at DC Universe Online. DC Universe Online has had tons of monetization boosts because of consoles. So MMOs on consoles seems to be a winning formula.
Neverwinter as well. Has done pretty well on Xbox One.
Exactly. So it seems like console players, they want MMOs, and they want to spend a lot of money on MMOs. And so when it comes to a lot of players wanting something and a lot of money to be had, that's EA's realm.
Yeah, absolutely. So it would make sense, because it will be like a new feature that they can market very easily. Say that, yeah, well, now you can jump in, but let's not forget that making a single player game with a co-op feature still requires a ton of tweaking and a ton of they have to think of, okay, will that player be in the cutscene, or how will the choices impact? Will you just join a player and then he makes all the choices, and then you have to, in your own game, you haven't made any progression, so
they've already done it though. Like, I hate to butt in here, but they've already done it with Star Wars: The Old Republic. And Star Wars: The Old Republic, when you go through a flashpoint, which is their dungeons, you end up choosing what you want. You still get the rewards, like the dark side or light side points of what you chose, but it bases the entire choice off of basically random chance, I think is what it is, because whatever everyone picks, it sort of chooses one of those choices and goes with it. And so I think that if you join someone's party and you do that, you can either set it so they're able to choose story options or not, and then if they do choose story options, then it sort of randomizes it and you get whatever it ends up choosing, and then the players that join you will have a profile that gives them benefits for joining up with you, but you also get the benefits for choosing what you chose as well. And I think that could sort of breathe new life into the franchise. I think it would piss off a good bit of people who just want a single player RPG, definitely. I'm not saying this is exactly what I want. If there were any form of a hybrid MMO I would like to see, it'd be from Dragon Age, because they've already done so many wrongs with that franchise that moving it to a different genre in a hybrid MMO would not really disappoint, I think, a lot of fans, because it's already way past the point of what Origins was. It's moved into sort of a semi-simplistic RPG realm, so in its side quests were just notes, so I think that it's a lot more realistic. I think it'd be a lot more welcome than a Mass Effect Andromeda hybrid MMO. But I do want, and I do hope that they do bring forth some sort of co-op system at the very least, because it's lonely when you play a long game like that and you don't have any of your friends with you, and the only communication you can have with your friends is if you hop in a Discord or a TeamSpeak and you're talking to them as you're going through the story. But if one of you is ahead of the other, you can't really communicate because you might spoil something. And I think a lot of gamers are becoming more social, especially since the market is increasing and getting a lot more of these normally social people into it. I think it's definitely a good formula. I think that there will be at least a hybrid MMO of some sort at EA's press conference. This is a matter of will it be Mass Effect or will it be Dragon Age?
Or both.
Or both.
As we might. I think you brought up some interesting points. Also, the console infrastructure is way more social now. You can jump into parties way more easily. People are now used to it. They want. I think a lot of players just don't want to. And of course, there are also people that, when you say like, oh, they feel lonely, they don't feel lonely. Obviously, there are a ton of different players, but with this generation, being in a party is like one of the things that has been. Even if every game you play, you are probably in a party with someone else, because yeah, it's like the social bond that you have. It makes gaming more fun, and yeah, for me, and I think for a ton of people. So I think this totally would make sense, and would maybe generate also a new audience for the franchise. That is, yeah, for people that are looking for a game that they can play together. Because actually, a lot of people have the new console, have a PS4, way more than in the previous generation. From what I've been seeing, like, the consoles are doing really well. A ton of people that skipped the previous generations are now going in, and yeah, they want to play with their friends that now have a PS4 while they didn't have a console like last generation. So yeah, it would totally make sense. Well, Zach, thanks a lot for sharing this bold prediction. It's still like, okay, we still, yeah, we think it's happening. I think the previous bold predictions we had for a Cyberpunk and for what was your other one? Let me see, Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls 6
are like more bold predictions than the two we discussed about EA, don't you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of people will probably see this as a really bold prediction, as much as Elder Scrolls 6, but
okay.
I think a lot of people may not be looking at it from a more financial standpoint and from a more what the industry is sort of moving towards, as far as that goes. But I definitely think these are more likely. It's just, I think that the Dragon Age is definitely more likely than Mass Effect for sure.
Okay, it will be interesting to watch. So the EA press conference, well, they are not really at EA. Some people also pointed it out in my Battlefield prediction, Battlefield being at E3 2016. Well, they have like a EA Play event, but it's so near you can walk from EA Convention Center to that Nokia theater there. But still, they have a press conference not on Monday, but this time on Sunday. They will start very soon. It's like 12 a.m. LA time. So yeah, before Bethesda. So they will be the first to kick off, and it will be a super interesting press conference, like Seg and I already discussed on his channel. Like I said, I put a link in the description below, so check it out. And for more bold predictions, you are at the right place. I also have some other E3 predictions, so be sure to check them out. E3 will be super interesting if even one of the bold predictions are right. Zach, thanks a lot for joining again. And yeah, we will discuss more E3 2016 bold predictions in the coming weeks. Thanks a lot, man. And yeah, I will speak to you next time.
Certainly. Goodbye.